Hi everybody, I'm Dr. John Douillard and welcome to LifeSpa.com, where we prove the ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science. And today the topic is, what is enlightenment? We've all heard the term. Many of us kind of have a sense of it, but many of us don't really understand the term. We think that we have to live in a cave as a monk for years and years and years doing austerities to finally reach that lofty goal of enlightenment, but the reality is it's a lot more simple than that. And in this video, I'm going to kind of dumb this down for us so we can get a sense of what enlightenment really is and actually hopefully give you all a taste for it in the exercise in the end. So stay with me. A better word in my mind for enlightenment is self-realization, which means to become realized or realize who the self really is. Who really are you? Many of us think we have a sense of that, but when we drop down beyond the thoughts and all the craziness, there's a level of awareness that sits there that many of us don't have access to. You know, when we meditate or do yoga, breathing, or prayer, those are all designed to still the nervous system, make the lake really calm, so you can see what's way down at the bottom. Our thoughts keep us on the surface all the time, thinking, worrying, and meditation, yoga, breathing, and prayer, and repetition of mantra, all these techniques, if you say a prayer again and again and again, fine, after a while you stop thinking the words and you stop drifting into this, through the thoughts, transcending the thoughts, to this place of deep silence. And that in that deep silence inside of you is a level of awareness. And in that level of awareness is access to your true self, to realize your real self. Now, to really unpack this a little bit further, we need to open the quantum physics door. And as you might know, quantum physics is really all about understanding where everything came from. Where did this desk come from? Where did everything come from? And when they drill down deep, they find that inside of this material world, as they go through the atoms and the subatomic particles and the quarks, they actually find a vacuum of nothing. There are no particles. A Nobel laureate, Frank Wilczek, recently wrote an article called Quantum Physics, right? He wrote an article called "There Are No Particles, There Are Just Fields." That everything that we see here are just fields. Now, it's interesting because another book called There's Only Consciousness by MD, PhD researcher Tony Nader wrote this book that these fields, and particularly the underlying field, is in fact our own consciousness. And this is not a new thought, because even Max Planck, the founder of quantum physics back in the 1930s, and Albert Einstein also all said that there was an underlying field, and that field was intelligent. So they all knew that there was some intelligence that, based on these fields, that manifested particles and created all this stuff that we see today as solid. So there was an intelligent field. They never went as far as to say there was God, but they're scientists, they can't really go there. But that's what they were thinking. There's some creative intelligence that underlies everything. One mathematician said, well, if everything was random, let's do the math. And a lot of scientists believe that everything that we have here is just kind of random, and it all happened beautifully with the intelligence of nature, but it's random events. All these things are random events. So he did the math and he compared random events versus if there was intelligence. And he said if things were totally random, it would be as if a hurricane would fly through a junkyard and stir everything up and assemble, while it's being stirred up a fully working airplane. So that's pretty random. I don't think I would ever get in that airplane. I don't think that ever would happen. Now he said that the math suggests that it's impossible for things to be random. So there's an underlying field of intelligence. Researchers are now saying that underlying field of intelligence is in fact consciousness, and that is our consciousness, which we can become aware of. And that is self-realization, being aware of your real self. So stay with me. We're diving deeper into this, which I think is really kind of interesting. So let's go back to the beginning. And this is also happening now, according to the theory, is that there is this field of intelligence, which is actually beyond space and time, by the way, because that is even before the Big Bang. This was consciousness, this field was still there. And this field of intelligence is this big vacuum state, but it is a field of consciousness. And consciousness, by definition, means just aware. And as that field of consciousness became aware of itself, the part of itself that it became aware of is now different because it is observed. Whenever you observe something, the thing that is observed is different because now it has that attention on it. It's not just itself that was before it was observed, it's something different. This was already borne out in quantum physics with a test called the double slit experiment, where they shot electrons through these two little slits. And they found that if they observed them, if the electrons were being observed by the camera or a human or whatever, electrons went right through the slit as particles and hit the wall, the barrier, as particles. They were like little bullet holes hitting the wall. So they knew they'd hit as particles. When they didn't observe it at all, and there was no cameras on, no observer, anything, the electrons were shot through the slits and they became waveforms, and they actually hit the wall, the barrier, as waveforms. Remember that these particles are concentrated frequencies of these waveforms. So they can be particles or they can be waveforms. And when they are not observed doing their own thing without anybody watching them, they're just being waveforms. But when they're watched, they're become more manifest, more particulate in nature. So when you observe something, it becomes more manifest, is my point. So if you have a field of intelligence, let's say it's consciousness, which is basically awareness, a field of complete awareness, that awareness becomes aware of itself. That new version of itself is different than the version that wasn't aware. And that is the observer engaging in the process of observing, and that now thing that is observed also becomes aware of itself, and that creates another level of unobserved, which is a little bit different than its prior state, and that's a little bit more manifest. And then that observed state of consciousness becomes aware of itself, and then it becomes an observed, different than it was before it was observed, and it continues to go through this process of the observer observing the observed, and it creates more manifestations and more manifestations and more manifestations. And that's the theory of creation from the Vedic perspective. So what's interesting about all of that is that it's all based on awareness. So we have the ability to be also to observe ourselves, right? And you know, our brain tricks us. We think that we're aware, but the brain is only allowing us to be aware of a fraction of what we truly are perceiving. Our eyesight only perceives about 1% of what's actually out there. Our hearing only perceives about 1% of what's out there. Our brain can process about 200 billion bits of information per second, yet it can only process 2,000 bits of information per second. So it's like we're only getting a glimpse just to keep this thing going in this plane. But there's a lot more going on that we're not aware of. I mean, think about just our color vision. The mantis shrimp has 16 different types of cones in their eyes for color vision. We have 3. Imagine what that mantis shrimp is really seeing, or you can imagine what we're not seeing. We're just seeing a little glimpse of what's really happening. And plus, everything that we're seeing is actually not even happening in real time. It takes about, on average, for all the senses, hearing's a little faster, but on the average, for me to kind of pick up this pen and look at it and go, oh, it's a green pen, takes about a quarter of a second for my brain my eyes to perceive the pen, for it to go to my my visual cortex, and then project the green pen on my brain. Oh yeah, that's a green pen. That took a quarter of a second. So that means I'm not living in real time, I'm living a quarter of a second behind. If we could live in real time, we would actually be aware of what's actually happening right now. So that's the whole idea of of stilling your nervous system, transcending thought, becoming more still and more calm in your nervous system to allow yourself to enhance your own self-awareness. And as you become more still, you start to become more aware of a silence that's around you, a silence that's inside of you. It's not a thinking thing. It's not even a feeling thing. It's beyond your senses. It's beyond your thinking. It's an awareness thing. And I want to take you on an exercise, see if you can actually all do that with me. Okay, so let's just take a minute. Let's close our eyes for a second and just put your attention on your body. Maybe feel your body sitting on the chair and feel the part of your body sitting on the chair. You feel that, right? So if you're aware of that, then that is the observed, right? The chair and your body hitting the chair, you're observing that. So somebody is observing that because that part of your body hitting the chair is the observed. So that means there has to be an observer. Who is that observer? You could say, well, it's my mind. My mind's observing it. Okay, you could say that. So let's just say, the case that I'm trying to make is that it's maybe not your mind because you're not thinking it, you're just aware of it. And it's the awareness that's observing this part of your body. Let's think about your breath for a second. Let's just close your eyes and feel your breathing. Feel your breath in and out, nice and slow. Be aware of your breath. By being aware of your breath has now become observed, and for it to be observed, there has to be an observer. So who's the observer? That underlying silence. And if you did that, did you feel thoughts? Were you thinking, or you were just being aware? You might have been actually tapping into your own consciousness, your own level of awareness, your true self. Let's take another step. Keep our eyes closed, and now let's do our thoughts a little trickier. Let's close our eyes. Let's become aware of our thoughts. So allow your thoughts to come. They come and go. Doesn't matter. And just gently be aware of them. See if you can watch them. If you can if you can watch your thoughts, then who's watching them? If you can observe your thoughts, then who's the observer? The observer is your true self. The observer is your awareness. The awareness is your consciousness. The consciousness is that underlying field of intelligence that underlies everything, which is the part of us that connects us all together, which is why when you start accessing that, you think, how in the world could I hate someone or dislike someone or hurt someone when that someone is really a part of me? And it's a beautiful spiritual understanding, which is in every single religion, but it's also in quantum physics. So it's a very interesting place. So let's just do one more exercise. Let's keep our eyes open and see if you can just be still for a second and just sense a presence, a feeling or a sense of presence around you, a sense of silence around you, possibly a sense of silence inside of you. That silent presence that's around you is awareness. It's that underlying field of intelligence that is inside of you and outside of you. It's a silent field, a progenitor field, that is part of this awareness, being aware of itself again and again and again, constantly creating, constantly manifesting thoughts, behaviors, every possible thing. And the idea of being aware of that, of being more self-aware, is realizing your true self, which is what's called self-realization. So let's close our eyes one last time, and let's be still. And see if you can sense a feeling, a sense of awareness, a kind of a silent presence. Sometimes you can use your awareness of your own breath to kind of highlight the fact that you are the observer of the breath. And that awareness of the breath can begin to expand. See if you can feel that breath gently in, gently out through your nose, expand into your body. See if you can feel that level of awareness expanding into the boundary between your body and the space around you. With each exhale, you feel a level of expansion. And eventually you can feel that expansion even go beyond your body, even into the space around you. Gently, with your breath, just being aware, observing your breath, allows you to access the level of awareness, the observer of the breath. And as you begin to become aware, you start feeling that awareness expanding into your body and even into the space around your body. And that is awareness, which is consciousness, which is that underlying field of intelligence, which is your true self, and that is realizing your true self, which is called self-realization. So I hope you enjoyed this very little quick journey into your self-awareness. And I've written a complete and full article about this with some of the science you can kind of go through, and it gives you the exercise and guides you through it. If you want to do it again, please enjoy the article at LifeSpa.com. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Hi everybody, I just want to take a minute and tell you what we do here at LifeSpa.com. I've been in practice now for 40 years, 38 of them have been practicing Ayurvedic medicine full-time. For the last 20 years, I've been writing articles and doing videos on the ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with the modern science. If something's been around for 1,000 years, still practiced today, and you have modern science to prove it, boy, I really feel like that's something we should all be taking a look at. And that's what we do at LifeSpa.com, and all that information is for free. So just go to LifeSpa.com and search in your health topic, and you'll get the information, the article that you need, hopefully that will help you. While you're there, check out our Ayurvedic store. You can get there through LifeSpa.com or go to store.lifespa.com. And there we have all of our organic Ayurvedic herbs, organic skincare line, more books, tapes, knowledge that we give you is all there at our store. All of our cleansing kits are there in our store. All of our herbs are whole herbs with the natural occurring microbiome, the way it came out of the soil. And that's critically important, because if I took the bugs out of you, you'd be completely different. We take the bugs away from a plant, like sterilizing, making an extract, or spraying your food with pesticides, you lose significant benefit of that plant. And that's why we use the whole plant with the natural occurring microbiome. So check us out, learn more about what we're doing here at LifeSpa.com, and we'll see you again.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at LifeSpa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.